Looks like we're live streaming. Good evening, fellow councillors, staff, those watching at home. I'd first of all like to acknowledge that we are meeting virtually as per Ministerial Order M192 on the shared lands of the Subats First Nation and the town of Lake Cowichan, where we also share the values of sustainable, economical, and environmental developments. You'll also note that I am wearing orange this evening as my own personal tribute and show of solidarity with First Nations across Canada on the grim discovery in the Kamloops residential school area. I stand beside my fellow Canadians in expressing my sorrow at the discovery, and I will quote Chief Robert Joseph, who we've all heard at Ubcm, that generations have suffered from this cultural genocide, and we are all responsible to take personal reconciliation. So I just share my personal support to those affected not only by the loss, but also to the survivors of the residential school system. I look for closure eventually. I know it is a difficult time, but please know that I, along with, I'm sure, my fellow councillors, stand beside you in our support as we move forward through reconciliation. So please, if we could just have a moment's silence. It's the first time we've been able to gather since the discovery, just to honor those who were discovered there and to honor the survivors as well. So just a moment, please. Thank you very much for your indulgence, fellow councillor staff. I know I probably blindsided you with that, but it's been weighing heavily on me personally. So thank you very much. Call to order. Any introduction of late items, Joseph? I see none. Approval of the agenda, please. Moved by Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Mayor Day. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That carries. Thank you very much. Business arising and unfinished business is the next item. Ongoing items still being addressed would be the municipal hall upgrades. Any update on that, Mr. Fernandez? And again, I'm going to do you're muted.
Yes, I can give you a little bit of an update. I've been meeting with the architects and the engineers on this very issue, and they wanted to test bore a couple of holes in the back base, and they've been unable to do it without the building coming down. And the superintendent suggested that we could probably still do testing without the building coming down. So I've suggested that to the engineers, and they are going to do that next week. And we will also have the QEP on standby to make sure that everything is done right. He's also going to be here because we've got to get a tree taken down at the corner here of the building, which is going to be in the way of the construction. So that's also will have to be taken down. And so they're wrestling with just what process they need to undertake to make sure that we do it right. And on a side, we still haven't heard on the grant process.
Thanks for answering that. I was sure that was going to come up in questions, but I do have Councillor Sandhu for a question.
Just a question. Do they normally respond to all applicants, whether you were approved or not?
They would respond to all the successful applicants, but we will, when we get a listing of all the applicants that were successful, so we can then check that list and see if our name's absent, that means we were not successful.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments on the municipal hall update? Seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Fernandez. We will move on to delegations and representations. I see none on the agenda. So right to correspondence, District of Souk, province-wide ban on anticoagulant rodenticides. Try saying that 5 times. Mr. Fernandez, anything
Well,
you'd like to open up with us?
I think the mayor might have something on that. I just got some emails from him actually on this issue.
Okay, Mayor
Yes.
Day, you have this put on?
Thank you very much. Yes, I've just noticed there are several municipalities supporting this initiative, so I just wanted to put this out there for our council to be aware of and see if there was any interest in offering support to this potential UBCM resolution and follow up on it in the future. So,
Councillor Sandu, please.
Just through you to the superintendent, what does use for this sort of trapping?
As far as I'm aware, we use traps and peanut butter as bait.
That's good.
So as far as you know, there is no use of anticoagulant rodenticides. There, I said it again with fluidity. Okay, I'll follow up, Councillor Sandy.
Well, I'd just like to move a motion that we support the ban on never mind. Okay, I just will put a motion on the table that we support.
So your motion is to support the District of Souk and the province-wide ban of that thing that was mentioned earlier, anticoagulant rodenticides, seconded by Councillor Austin. Any further discussion?
No, I just want to say that I think banning it is a good idea because my old hometown of Esquimalt is where they had a lot of owls die from eating the rats that were euthanized by the anticoagulant rodenticides. So yeah, I think they should stop it.
And I think we'll put that in 2021 Webster's thesaurus of new input.
Good.
Aside from you're muted, we will add this one as well. So I think it's important that we support our fellow municipalities. I believe North Cowichan has always also looked at this letter. And when it does come to UBCM, if it does as a resolution, with a number of municipalities showing the support, would give it more value as it goes to the province for consideration. So with that, if there's no further discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. And unfortunately, we have to adhere to the council procedure bylaws. So until we change that bylaw, there will be 2 opportunities for input at these committee meetings. First one is now the verbal comment on a subsequent item on the agenda. The phone number that you may call is 250-749-6681 or email at general@lakecowichan.ca. We will pause for 3 minutes to see if there is any input. We'll see you back here at 5:12. 5:12. Mr. Fernandez, any phone calls or input?
I've got questions for the planning meeting, but none for this one.
Okay, so moving on then. Thank you very much. Next up, we have reports. The Director of Finance on the financial report for the period ending May 31st. Ms. Gill, please. And I'm going to use that new term, you're muted.
Need to unmute myself first, right? Okay, so the financial statements are here. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. They include the 2021 taxation revenue. Property tax notices were mailed out May 18th. So I would just like to remind everyone that the homeowner grant claiming process has changed this year. You have to apply directly for the homeowner's grant instead of coming into our office. So we've had a huge uptake on that. There's already been lots of homeowner grants coming through from the province. We're normally getting notified within a day or two after the grant's been claimed. Property tax deferments, that also seems to be working well with the introduction of that change over to the province was last year. So that all seems to be working really well. There's been lots of questions from some of the seniors who don't have a computer, but the telephone line system and the live agent that they have, which is 24/7, seems to be working quite well. And lastly, I'd like to mention that the Lakeview Park Campground opened for the balance of the season on May 24th. There was an overwhelming demand for camping at Lakeview Park, especially for the limited power sites that we have out there. So most of the weekends are booked, especially the long weekends. So everything's going good out there.
Great. And just a friendly reminder that July 2nd is the deadline for the homeowners grant application to be done online through the province this year. Excellent. Great. Any questions on not only the notes, but the financial report to follow? Mayor Day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So just a question through you to staff, both in the fire department and the regular staffing. There's a low percentage of expenses so far this year. We're already almost 6 months through in training. So just a question whether or not COVID is affecting the amount of training being offered to staff members. So just curious about that.
Yeah, it's having an impact.
Okay, thank you. Well, go ahead. Oops, sorry.
Yes, Joseph.
Yeah, just one thing. While it's not reported here, I think it will have an impact on your financial statements down the road. And that is the RFP for DCCs were issued this afternoon, just on the side, and I think you'd be happy to note.
Excellent. And any further questions on the financial report themselves there? Remembering that after you do peruse it a third or fourth or fifth time, that if you do have any questions, Ms. Gill would most certainly be happy to answer either in person, phone, or email, or all the above. Thank you very much, Ms. Gill, for that. Get back to my agenda. The building inspector's report for May 2021. That is for information. Nothing to note on there, Mr. Fernandez?
No, it's another kind of slow month. 2 building permits for single family dwellings, and it's getting busier this month.
I'm wondering if the price of lumber is having an impact on that personally. I think it
Big
may,
impact.
with the increase that we're seeing in lumber prices. In some cases, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 extra for a home to be built as opposed to 2 years ago. That's a significant impact for sure. I digress, pardon me. I have bylaw enforcement report for April 2021.
Not a lot happening there.
Anything from councilors? Councilor Sandby, please.
Just a note, just so for next month, could we get May and June at our July meeting? Just because we're a month behind.
Yeah, we weren't able to get May because of an absence of the bylaw officer.
Okay,
That's the reason.
okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm sure we'll have those to follow up at a future meeting. But thank you for that. Anything further on the bylaw? Seeing none, I will move on to the Lake Cowichan Fire Department Incident Report for April 2021. I'll be looking for a resolution to accept. Moved by Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Sandu. Council accept the April 2021 monthly incident report in the amount of $8,450.37. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions on the fire department incident report? Mayor Day, please. I'm going to use that entry again.
I thought I was going to be okay this week. So just a question through you. Thank you very much to the administrator. A few years back, there was a push on and through Ubcm and through other municipalities for reimbursement for medical aids and the such. So I'm just wondering if the administrator is aware of through his communication with other CEOs, whether there still is any kind of concern at the staff level on this.
There is concern at the staff level on this, and our fire chief is trying to limit those as much as he can, but they have to attend to calls when they call upon.
And if I may, I think we're seeing a large impact on the smaller volunteer departments within the smaller communities, having that financial burden placed on not only the fire department, but the taxpayers of that region with no recourse for reimbursement. If you recall, we did try to bring a resolution forward to UBCM in the past, but I think it's time that we revisit the disparity between large paid departments and how they are follow through with the province and the small volunteer departments that we depend on for our safety, not only of our structures, but our citizens as well. I think it's something that should be followed up on, whether it's through a resolution or just through personal contact with the ministries involved, just to show that we're still concerned and that we're not the only small community that shares that concern. So whatever avenue we choose to do so, I think it's important that we continue to lobby. Perfect. Nothing else on that. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Next up is new business meeting format. And that was brought forward by yourself, Mr. Fernandez, or
No, Mayor Day.
Mr. Day, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So could be misunderstood just in the two words there, but what I'm looking for is just to start the conversation on when we're going to consider going back to in-person meetings, and when we do that, will we have the ability to live stream still, or is that something council wishes to continue doing? And we might as well throw in there at some point, perhaps next month, we can also discuss the meeting procedures bylaw as well, and make the appropriate adjustments if council wishes to. We'll put that as on as a specific item. So just wanted to put that out there for a little bit of a roundtable to see how the feeling is from staff and as well council.
Anyone with input on this one? I think personally, I saw hands, so I'm going to yield my place to the end, as a good chair should.
Okay.
I'll move with Councillor Austin first, and then Councillor Sand.
I was just going to say, people are really, I'm getting a lot of feedback from our electronic meetings. So I think for some things, maybe it is nice to meet in person, though, especially for public hearings and things. We really need to do that. So I don't know how you could mix up one and the other, unless you just did the regular meeting as a virtual meeting and the others would be in person. Some sort of a mix up. you know, but people are really enjoying them because they can watch them anytime.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sandu, you're next. You yield to the chair? Thank you. And I think we're going to hear what future announcements on the public health orders coming in the very near future. And that may enable us to meet again in person. But I think we would still have the capability to broadcast on our YouTube channel with an iPad within the council chambers. And I think it's important that we continue on the virtual aspect as well for those that may not be able to or may not be comfortable attending in person and could view it at a later time at their convenience. I do look forward to meeting in person. I think I have missed that for the last year and a bit. The interaction and just the body language that you don't get from a virtual surrounding. I think it's very important that you read a person's body language at the same time that you listen to their verbiage. So I look forward to meeting again in person and to continue to live stream or record for a later time. I think that's one avenue that we could look at. I certainly think we should look at the council procedure bylaw at the earliest convenience to delete the repetitive input and keep that within just the council meeting portion of our meeting schedules, but that's just my personal opinion. So hopefully that has some clarity on new business A. Anything further? Mayor Day.
Just wanted to echo your comments. I'm also looking forward to going back to in-person meetings for all our meetings and continue with the live streaming and archiving of them as well. So I'm glad to hear some of us are on the same page with that. And I know the public does really appreciate this. It was something they talked about lots in the past. So it's really cool that we're there, and it might require a small investment for proper microphones here and there just to get us through till we get our new town hall, our council chambers. So yeah, thank you very much.
Great. Look forward to future discussions on that. Seeing no other hands, I will move on to provincial appointments. And again, I believe Mayor Day or Joseph would like to take this. Perfect. Mayor Day, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the notice came out for to make ministerial appointments for UBCM. They're happening from the 7th to 13th. So and they'll be virtual. Actually, they're telephone calls so far. So just wondering, wanted to get a sense from council if there's any thought on which ministers we would like to meet with the week prior to UBCM.
Do I see any hands on some possibilities? I see some twitching there. So who's going to be first? I personally, okay. Councillor Sandu, please.
I was just gonna say, what are our issues around our community right now that could warrant a one-on-one? Off the top of my head, I can't really think of any per se, but it's important we do get this list in now, our request in now. So maybe our CAO could put a couple names together and send it out to council just for our thoughts.
If I could, I may throw some ideas that might spark some interest. I think a follow-up with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure on highway safety outside of our community, the ungulate accident rates, I think are important to keep on. The lights that were installed were a start, but I think there's room for much more safety improvements along that corridor to keep everyone safe, either going or coming. Also, the Minister of Education, I would like to have a meeting on the empty and derelict school facilities that still reside and whether there is any funding in the capital budget for demolition or deconstruction of those facilities. I think we're seeing a safety and health hazard with those buildings as they remain, as an enticement for illegal and perhaps unsightly activity that may happen within those facilities. So I think it's important to continue trying to resolve that situation and get them into the hands of the deconstruction portion of it. So that's just my two. I don't know if you all agree, but please, Councillor Sandy.
Well, regarding the school site, would it be a good time to have the meeting with the minister regarding the possibility of the town taking ownership and how that would entail?
I think because it still resides in the ALR, we're in a difficult situation. Having said that, from the initial interest from the town of Lake Cowichan on taking that on, a number of years has passed, and the whether that building is still salvageable for the needs that we had thought of is something that I'm concerned with. So if it's still to be residing within the ALR, I would more appreciate the deconstruction or demolition of that facility so we could move forward with the safety and well-being of our citizens in our community. But that's just my personal view. Mayor Day, please.
Yes, thank you very much. And you would maybe a good person to comment on this too. Would it be worth our while to meet with the Minister of Forest Lands and Natural Resources just to keep in contact with that person and share our concerns about the upcoming changes in the forest policy and whatnot? So just thought that might be a valuable one to throw out there.
I think it's important that all areas within the affected area are part of the consultation, whether it's First Nation, municipal governments, regional districts, all those involved should be at the table. So I think just initiating the revamping of the forest practices is an important way into a sustainable, healthy future for logging and forestry within not only our area, but other areas in the province. So I would certainly like an initial discussion, if it's appropriate, just to voice our concern and interest in joining that conversation, knowing that the affected First Nations are the first to have consultation and input, but we certainly appreciate the opportunity to have ours as well. In consolidation with that input is important, I believe. Councillor Sandu.
Just one further. So the Minister of Agriculture is Minister Lana Pophams. So when we talk about like deconstructing the building, that's for the school district to, find the funds within the ministry to have allocated for that. Our wants is the land for the town. So
True.
what I'm wondering is if we set up a meeting, or is that one step ahead of what we should be doing, and meet with the minister just to start the conversation about the ALR, about that land. I mean, there's quite a story behind it also, right? So.
And I think another wrinkle in it is that the Agricultural Land Commission is an independent arm of the government, and the decisions are sent forward for approval, and that's where the problem arises with perhaps going to the minister that you mentioned earlier. I think we have other avenues to approach it personally. Mayor Day, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Given what you just mentioned there, is it a possibility to get the eye or the ear of the Agricultural Land Reserve folks as a delegation in one of their board meetings, by any chance?
I'm not sure. I would send that to Mr. Fernandez for the possibility of that.
I think you would want to meet with the minister responsible for that portfolio rather than meet with the board. That would be the best bet.
Perfect.
So would that be
Follow-up?
the Minister of Agriculture?
I think it's the Attorney General's office.
Right.
So I think we've added to the list from 0 to, I'm counting 4 or 5. But I think Mr. Fernandez has an idea of some of the issues that we're interested in moving forward with discussions with the appropriate ministers. Anything further on that? Excuse me. Appreciate all your input there. No notices of motion. They did not come forward earlier. Are there any at this time that you may have forgotten? I see Councillor Austin itching for a public relations item, so I'll move to you first, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, I was getting ready here. Too many papers. I just want to announce that there will be COVID clinics here starting June 23rd at 8:30 in the morning, June 23rd, June 24th, June 26th, June 29th, and June 30th. And they need volunteers, and they're also hoping that people will phone in and register at 1-833-838-2323 or go to the government COVID website. And I have the information if people are interested on who to contact if they want to volunteer, just to, greet people at the door and get them situated. It will be at the Curling Lounge. And I understand there's a lot of people in our area, in the Cowichan Lake area, that haven't had their shots yet. So this should be good for that. So there we go.
Great, thank you very much. And I think the west side of Island Health is showing the lowest uptick in first shots. So that could encourage those that may not have an avenue to travel to do it within the close proximity of their communities. So a great opportunity for those who choose to be vaccinated. And I encourage everyone to do that so we can get to some semblance of normality. But that is a personal choice, and I leave that with each of us. Anything other public relations items? Seeing none. We're going to pause for 3 minutes for question period. And again, the phone number, if you wish to phone in on tonight's Finance Administration Committee meeting, 250-749-6512, or they can be emailed at general@lakecowichan.ca. We will pause till 5:38. Thank you.
Why is my shoulder always buggered up? Oh, unmute.
And we're at 5:38, Mr. Fernandez.
There is nothing.
Excellent. I have the light agenda this evening, it would appear. With that, I'd just like to thank you all for your input this evening. Thank you, staff, fellow counselors. Looking for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Sandu, seconded by Mayor Day. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? And just for clarity, are we going to wait till 6 o'clock, seeing as how we have a delegation?
Well, it's one way of doing it, or wait 10 minutes and you can still do other items till the delegation shows up.
Really
Your
your
choice.
Your choice, fellow counselors. I thought we'd better do that before we do adjourn. Unless someone could contact the delegation and inform them that we will be starting at 5:50 instead of 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So let's do that. We will come back at 5:50 for the second meeting on this invitation. Is that correct?
Correct.
So let's stay here. Don't leave.
But
Just
we'll
take
go
a-
off live.
Yes, and we'll take a pause and we'll see you back